Christoph Martin Wieland was a German poet and writer. He is best remembered for having written the first Bildungsroman, as well as the epic Oberon, which formed the basis for Karl Maria von Weber's opera of the same name. Biography. He was born in Oberholzheim, which then belonged to the Free Imperial City of Biberach and der ISNI in the southeast of the modern-day state of Baden-Württemberg. His father, who was pastor in Oberholzheim and subsequently in Biberach, took great pains with his son's education. For the town's school of Biberach he passed on at the age of 12 to the Klosterberg Gymnasium, near Magdeburg. He was a precocious child, and when he left school in 1749 was widely read in the Latin classics and the leading contemporary French writers. Amongst German poets his favorites were Brockes and Klopstock. During the summer of 1750, he fell in love with a cousin, Sophie Gutermann, and this love affair inspired him to plan his first ambitious work, Die Natur der Dinge, a didactic poem in 6 books. In 1750 he went to the University of Tübingen as a student of law, but his time was mainly taken up with literary studies. The poems he read at the university, Hermann, an epic, Zwölf Moralische Brief in Versen, Anti-Ovid, a pietistic in tone and dominated by the influence of Klopstock. They attracted the attention of the Swiss literary reformer J. Bodmer, who invited Wieland to visit him in Zurich in the summer of 1752. After a few months, he felt little sympathy with Wieland as, 2 years earlier, he had felt himself with Klopstock, and the friends parted, but Wieland remained in Switzerland until 1760, spending the last year at Bern, where he obtained a position as private tutor. Here he became intimate with Jean-Jacques Rousseau's friend Julia de Bondelli. Wieland's tastes had changed. The writings of his early Swiss years, Der Geprüfte Abraham, Sympathien, Empfindungen eines Christen, were still in the manner of his earlier writings, but with the tragedies, Lady Johanna Gray, and Clementina von Porretta, the latter based on Samuel Richardson's Sir Charles Grandison, the epic fragments Arius, and the moral story in dialogues, Arispes und Panthea. Wieland, as Gotthold Lessing said, forsook the ethereal spheres to wander again among the sons of men. Quote, in Arius, he had been inspired by the deeds of Frederick the Great to write a poem exhibiting the ideal of a hero. Arispes und Panthea is based on an episode from the Cyropedia of Xenophon. Wieland's conversion was completed at Biberach, having returned in 1760 as director of the Chancery. The monotony of his life here was relieved by the friendship of Count Stadion, whose library in the castle of Warthausen, not far from Biberach, was well stocked with French and English literature. Wieland met again his early love Sophie Gutermann, who had become the wife of Hofrat La Roche, then manager of Count Stadion's estates. In Don Silvia von Rosalva, a romance in imitation of Don Quixote, he held up to ridicule his early faith, and in the Komische Erzählungen he gave his extravagant imagination only too free a rein. More important is the novel Geschichte des Agathon, in which, under the guise of a Greek fiction, Wieland described his own spiritual and intellectual growth. This work, which Lessing recommended as a novel of classic taste, marks an epoch in the development of the modern psychological novel. Of equal importance was Wieland's translation of 22 of Shakespeare's plays into prose. It was the first attempt to present the English poet to the German people in something approaching entirety. With the poems Muse Arian oder die Philosophie der Grazian Idris, Kombibisp der Neue Amadus, Wieland opened the series of light and graceful romances in verse which appealed so irresistibly to his contemporaries and acted as an antidote to the sentimental excesses of the subsequent Sturm und Drang movement. Muse Arian advocates a rational unity of the sensual and spiritual. Amadus celebrates the triumph of intellectual over physical beauty. Wieland married Anna Dorothea Dorothea von Hillenbrand on October 21, 1765. They had 14 children. Wieland's daughter Sophia Katharina Susanna Wieland married philosopher Karl Leonhard Reinhold on May 18, 1785. Between 1769 and 1772, Wieland was a professor of philosophy at the University of Erfurt. In his Wirklichster Amor he defended amatory poetry, and in the Dialogen des Diogenes von Sinope he gave a general vindication of his philosophical views. In 1772 he published Der Goldenspiegel oder die Könige van Tschechien, a pedagogic work in the form of Oriental stories. This attracted the attention of Anna Amalia, Duchess of Saxe-Weimar ISNI, and resulted in his appointment as tutor to her two sons, the Jew Karl August and his brother Prince Constantine, at Weimar, with the exception of some years spent at Osmanstedt, where in later life he bought an estate. Weimar remained Wieland's home until his death. Turning his attention to dramatic poetry, he wrote The Wildes Hercules and the Alceste. In 1773, he founded Der Deutsche Merkur, which under his editorship became the most influential literary review in Germany. His views, as exhibited therein, however, showed so much of the narrow conventional spirit of French criticism, that he was attacked by Goethe in the satire Goethe, Helden und Wieland. This Wieland answered with great good nature, recommending it to all who were fond of wit and sarcasm. Goethe and Johann Gottfried Herder were soon drawn to Weimar, where the Duchess Anna Amalia formed a circle of talent and genius, later also joined by Friedrich Schiller. He was also a librettist for the Seeler Theatrical Company of Abel Seeler. Of his later writings, the most important are the admirable satire on German provinciality, the most attractive of all his prose writings, Die Abderiten, eine sehr wahrscheinliche Geschichte, and the charming poetic romances, Das Wintermärchen, Das Sommermärchen, Geron der Adelig, Pavonte oder die Wünsche, a series culminating with Wieland's poetic masterpiece, the romantic epic of Oberon. In Wieland's later novels, such as the Geheimgeschichte des Philosophen Peregrinus Proteus and Aristippon Deinige seine Zeitgenossen, a didactic and philosophic tendency obscures the small literary interest they possess. He also translated Horace's satires, Lucian's works, Cicero's letters, and from 1796 to 1803 he edited the Atisches Museum, which did valuable service in popularizing Greek studies. Wieland was also strongly influenced by the French fairy tale vogue of the 18th century. He published a collection of tales entitled Die Schönestan, which included 3 original tales, Der Stein der Weisen, Timander und Melissa, and Der Druid oder die Salamandren und die Bildsaal. Wieland had strong influence on the German literature of his time. He died in Weimar. Editions. Wieland's Sambeliche Werke appeared in 1794 to 1802, 45 vols. Collections of Wieland's letters were edited by his son Ludwig and by H. Gesner. His letters to Sophie Laroche by F. Horn. Later editions of Wieland's Sambeliche Werke 1818 to 1828, 53 vols. 1839 to 1840, 36 vols, and 1853 to 1858, 36 vols. Then 1879 to 1882 in 40 vols. Edited by H. Dunzer. There are numerous editions of selected works, notably by Heinrich Proller in Kirchner's Deutsche Nationalliteratur, by F. Munker, by W. Bolsch. Gesammelte Schriften Abd. I. Werke. Abd. 2. Übersetzungen ed. by Deutsche Kommission der Königlich Preußischen Akademie der Wissenschaften, Berlin 1909 to 1975. Completed volumes with accompanying commentary: I6, I9, I12-15, I18, I20-23, 2, 1-3. Volumes without accompanying commentary: I1, I2, I3, I4, I7, I10, I17, 2, 4, 2, 9-10. Volumes missing: I5, I16, I19, 2, 5-8. Wieland's Briefwechsel, 20 volumes, ed. by Deutsche Akademie der Wissenschaften zu Berlin, Institut für Deutsche Sprache und Literatur, Berlin, 1963-2007. Wieland's Werke, historisch-kritisch Ausgabe, edited by Klaus Manger and Jan Philipp Rimsma. Berlin, New York 2008 F.